Hi, my name is Brandon Barnett. I'm the fire chief of my Valley Fire District. We're just going to quickly go through the reason we are putting on an 11 mil operational levy on November 8th. So I want to talk about what my Valley Fire District looks like today. We've been in operation since 2012. It is funded by 3 levies. There's 2 levies through Miami Township. One is 3.65 mils, the other is a 3.5 mil levy. Both bring in roughly $3.95 million. And then Miami Township also has a small supplementary fund they're able to give us to meet the 55% that they're obligated through our comprehensive agreement, which equals about $678,000. However, that may be depleted by 2023, depending on spending. City of Miamisburg give us $1.2 million through a 3 mil levy, which is a continuous levy, and then also a general fund transfer of $2.6 million. The district itself actually brings in about a little over $1.5 million, and that includes EMS billing fees, grants, and reimbursements. And that whole entire revenue generates a little over $10 million annually. So just comparing the district, in 2008, the population was about 48,000. We're up to about 50,000 now, so about a 6% increase. Land areas stayed the same. There was 6 fire stations, 2 for Miamisburg and then 4 for Miami Township. And today we have 5 fire stations. We actually operate 4. We had closed 1 fire station in 2019 due to funding and budget cuts. Apparatus-wise, we had about 42 medics and fire engines and ladder trucks collectively. Right now we're down to 25 vehicles, so about 40% less vehicles. So we've gotten rid of some vehicles just due to age and efficiencies. Personnel-wise, this is a big one. 2008, we had about 112 personnel. Some of those are volunteers, some were part-time staff, some full-time staff. Now we're down to 68 full-time staff, so about a 39% less personnel than what we started with in 2008. Annual expenses have stayed the same. About $10 million in 2008. We're a little over $10 million now, about $10.2 million. So just about a 2% increase since 2008. And our annual fire and EMS runs have gone up significantly, 7,743 in 2008. And now we were well over 9,000 calls, and we're going to be over 10,000 calls in 2022. It's a 29% increase. 2013, which was the first full year that my Valley Fire District was actually in operation, up until 2021, it's been about a 40% increase in call volume. So we had to estimate the cost of the 2 separate departments. So to determine that efficiency of the district and savings of the 2 communities, they had to calculate the expenses of the budgets between Miamisburg Fire Department and Miami Township Fire Departments. So the estimates were based on the collective bargaining agreements, insurance benefits, the average expense growth, capital equipment replacement schedules, debt service for the station builds, and then the added cost estimates of the 2 departments. They use that total amount to compare. So the actual expenses of the district have been very efficient because we did not have the duplication of services, and the contributions to the district and the city and the township equal savings because Miamisburg wasn't trying to buy equipment. Miami Township was buying equipment they actually could use the same equipment, hoses, nozzles, apparatus. They're able to combine their efforts. Since 2012, the efficiencies between the city and the township and the fire district, we saved $5.4 million for personnel, $0.2 million on contract services supplies, and $4.5 million on equipment and stations. By becoming the Miami Valley Fire District, the agencies were able to save $10.2 million over that 10-year period. Estimated savings is about $11.9 million to the city and about $13.7 million to the township. So what does the district need? And we just need to determine the cost of the services. So there was a study done by Burgess & Burgess, and they spoke with community stakeholders. They did a survey of the fire district personnel, and we did an online community survey. Some of the recommendations were that we needed to enhance our public outreach. We need to incorporate the political landscape into the strategies. We need to make sure that we were communicating the messages early and often. So the fire district responds to average about 10,000 calls annually, which is a 27% increase in call volume since the district was formed in 2012. The Miamisburg residents have not been asked for an increase in their fire district funding in over 10 years. So Burgess & Burgess told us that we need to make sure that myself and the personnel, we need to be positioned in the community to deliver the financial and operational information as much as possible. And that's one of the reasons why we're creating this video. And we put things out on Facebook and we put things on our website to make sure we get as much information out to the public as we can about the levy and the needs of the fire district. So just real quick, we're going to go over the cost increases since the district was formed. In 2012, top step wage for a firefighter was $64,000. In 2022, we're looking at about $81,871. That's about a 27% increase. A fire engine, we're looking at just a little over $607,000, so about a 29% increase. Ladder trucks have gone up. If you were to buy a ladder truck, now we're looking at a little over $1.3 million, so a 33% increase. Medics or ambulances at $380,392, or a 31% increase. And staff cars cost well over $55,178 once you start adding all the equipment in the command vehicle in order to run operations, so about a 41% increase. The current funding model will not sustain the true cost of the services based on the district's needs. As our expenses have gone up, our revenue has stayed flat. And so we're estimating that we're going to have about a $1.4 million shortfall in expenses versus revenue should we sustain everything and we continue on the same path that we've been on by 2027. So the effective rates for the property taxes for both Miamisburg and Miami Township, currently the city of Miamisburg, again, it's a 3 mil levy, but the effective rate is 2.33 mils. And for Miami Township, those two levies collectively is 7.15 mils with an effective rate of 6.43 mils. That's important because basically it's saying that though it's a 7.15 mil levy and a 3 mil levy, we're really only bringing in about 2.33 mils and 6.43 mils through the township. So they're bringing in less than what they should be. So the cost of the service, so our 20-year cost projections that we've been doing is to make sure we have full staffing. Again, we had to shut down Fire Station 51 on Wood Road in 2019 in order to cut cost and cut operational and overtime cost. Making sure that we hire our district administrative staff. We're required by state law to make sure that we have a human resource and a fiscal clerk. Making sure we have additional training. We've had to cut a lot of our external and our internal training for our firefighters, so we need to make sure we can bring that back and make sure we have the best qualified personnel responding to emergencies. Increased capital spending to make sure we're replacing apparatus, we're replacing the equipment, and we're replacing anything that is large ticket items. And a building a reserve, just in case something catastrophic happens, you'll be able to pay for it. So the cost of the fire and EMS services for Miami Valley Fire District, we're estimating is anywhere from $13 to $14 million projected annually. And right now our current revenues are only at $10 million. So as expenses go up, we'll be able to eat up some of that cost without coming back to the taxpayers quicker. So based on the review of the expense projections and the consultant studies, the Board of Trustees for the Fire District established that the cost of the service should be about $13 million annually, minimum. So in order to get that amount of money, the total levy value needed to be at 11 mils. So that 11 mils will bring in about $12.4 million with our EMS revenues for the EMS billing, the Bureau Workers' Comp rebates, and any kind of grants that we apply for. Brings in about $1.5 million, so a total of $13.9 million annually. This slide just kind of goes through some comparables for different jurisdictions. So Washington Township has 3 levies on a total of 9 mils. Trotwood has 3 levies. For the fire department, it brings in 12.45 mils. Clear Creek Township has 4, that brings in 11.1 mils annually. And Beaver Creek has 4, that brings in 9.25 mils annually. So for Washington Township, their 9 mils brings in $18 million because their taxable value is based on $2.151 billion. City of Trotwood has a high millage rate because their taxable value is lower, so they have a $0.265 billion or $265 million taxable value that only brings in about $3 million annually. So Miami Valley Fire District is asking for the 11 mils so they can bring in the 12.4 million, which, because our taxable value is only at 1.191 billion, so just a little less than $1 billion, less than what Washington Township brings in. So we had to figure out what funding options we needed. So the Board of Trustees went through a bunch of different funding options, and we'll get into each of those. We basically based it on different criteria. So one was, does it meet the $13 million minimum annual need of the district? Does it meet the spirit of the successor comprehensive agreement? Is it consistent with the current levy timeline? Does it address and alleviate current operating deficits? Does it address and alleviate current capital deficits? And then the end term, does it maintain the city's 45% contribution and the township's 55% split? So option 1 was a 1.25 mil capital. So first we asked ourselves, does it achieve the $13 million minimum? And the answer was no. Was it within the spirit of the comprehensive agreement, which was that Miami Valley Fire District will become financially solvent from the city and the township as quick as feasibly possible? And the answer was no to that. Was it consistent with the levy timelines? Yes, we were able to get in time for it to be on the ballot. Does it address our operating deficits? And the answer was no, it does not bring in enough money to do that. Does it address all of our capital deficits? Yes, that $1.25 million was to bring in enough money for the capital. And then it would give us the ability to still have the 55-45 split between the township and the city. So option 2 was the 11 mil, which is the one that ultimately got chosen. So we asked, does it achieve the $13 million minimum? The answer was yes. Was it within the spirit of the comprehensive agreement and would allow us to become financially independent from the city and the township? The answer was yes. Was it consistent with the levy timelines? Yes, again. Does it address our operating deficits? Yes, it would allow us to start increasing our operating money in order to hire staff that we need, and it addresses our capital deficits. And then should we be successful with this levy, it would eliminate the 55-45 split from the city, and we would be financially independent from both. We no longer would have to have the 55-45 split between the city and the township. Option 3, which is one we closely looked at, it achieved the $13 million minimum. It was split between a 6 mil and a 5 mil levy. And the 5 mil levy, we would reach that $13 million in 2025, but it would be on the ballot a couple different times. So you would first put it on as a 6 mil and then come back to the voters and ask for a 5 mil. Then it would achieve the $13 million minimum in 2025. So the board decided they wanted to take a little closer look at options 2 and 3, which is that 11 mil, and then the 6 and the 5 mil. So first we'll review the 11 mil. So option 2, it did achieve our $13 million minimum in the first possible year, which allowed the district to start building a small fund balance. And the total ask was consistent with the other area fire and EMS cost services. However, the negative for that, it was a large jump from other approved levies and it was not tested. So option 3 was the 6 mil and then the 5 mil in 2024. So the total ask is consistent with other area fire and EMS cost of services. Got a smaller initial ask of the electoral broken into 2 levies. Those levy amounts have been approved for other services previously. However, the negative for that was the $13 million was not achieved as soon, and the Board of Trustees was afraid that it may cause some potential levy confusion because first we'd put one levy on, and then we would have to have the Miami Township levy on, and then they would try again for another 5 mil. They were afraid it would just confuse the voters. So ultimately, they went with the 11 mil option 2, and to put that forward towards the voters for November 8th. Whether you live in the city of Miamisburg or Miami Township, you'll be voting on the same levy. Budget planning. So the expected revenue in 2023, should the levy be successful, is $13.9 million. Again, it's that $12.4 million from the levy and the $1.5 million from the EMS revenues and grants. And our estimated expenses are about $12.2 million. So the annual increase in the revenues will allow us to implement our staffing plan for all the stations to be staffed. It'll give us the ability to hire the administrative staff that we need. It'll actually give us the ability to start providing additional training, both inside and outside training for our personnel. And it'll allow us to implement a capital plan for the equipment replacement in the fire stations, whether it be improvement or replacement of some of the aged stations. We'd like to do about a 10-year investment goal. We have a $15 million, so it's about $1.5 million annually that we'll be able to put into capital. As you can see, in 2017, we started investing in 18, and then slowly we went down with the amount of money that we have available to invest in capital. Should the levy be successful, we would start investing hopefully $1.5 million annually over a 10-year period. An estimated cost would be about $15 million, but it would give us the ability to replace the fire apparatus, the breathing apparatus that we wear, ambulance cots, our cardiac monitors, our thermal imagers, large ticket items that cost a lot of money. The station replacement project. So the location GIS studies, we've had 2 done, one in 2019, one in 2022. They both put the fire stations roughly in about the same area. Right now our current stations are anywhere from 40 to 55 years old, except for Station 51, which is on Wood Road, and that was opened in 2011. So the current fire stations just were built for volunteers and part-time workforce. They weren't built for people that live there 365 days a year, 7 days a week. They're built for people that just go to take a call and then they go home. And that's not the way that my Valley Fire District operates, nor most fire departments in America today. So locations are not reflective of district growth. So as the district has grown and has gotten bigger and the population has gotten bigger, and where the housing developments have gone or nursing homes have gone or the business districts have been placed, the fire stations are not strategically located in order to provide the best service. And stations need major maintenance. They're kind of end of useful life. A lot of HVAC systems, plumbing, electric. We're putting a lot of money into keeping them operational because we still have people living there every single day. And there's a lot of modernization needs, whether it's the bathrooms, the bunk rooms. A lot of our firefighters are living and sleeping in, when the stations are built, they were built as offices and not as bunk rooms. So we've converted the offices into bunk rooms. So the replacement projects will account for the needs of Miami Valley Fire District today and in the future. And if we are able to build the stations in strategic locations, we think that we may be able to go down to 4 fire stations instead of 5, which is a savings to the taxpayers in general and still meet the needs of the district. So the 10-year projections, it is on 11 mil levy. So our assumptions are our revenue increases would go about 0.5% annually, and our expense increases would be about 3% annually. So assessing annually, beginning looking at options in about 2030. So what we're thinking is right around 2033 is anywhere from 10 to 15 years from this levy being approved. We would probably have to come back to the taxpayers and ask for a smaller increase, because as the expenses are going to go up and our revenue will stay the same because we'll still collect the same amount of money off of the levies. We're thinking anywhere from 10 to 15 years is how long this levy will last. So let's get through the taxpayer effect and what it's going to cost the homeowner. So for a $150,000 home, whether you live in the city of Miamisburg or Miami Township, you will pay $578 annually or $48 monthly. So from a comparison and the increase from the city of Miamisburg and Miami Township, for the city of Miamisburg residents, they currently pay a 3 mil fire and EMS levy, and the annual increase for them will be $455 or $38 monthly. If you live in Miami Township, you currently pay on a 7.15 mil levy for fire and EMS services. The annual increase will be $240 and a monthly increase of $20. This slide just goes through a way for you to look at your home value, what the annual cost will be with the 11 mil levy, what you currently pay, and what the annual increase and the monthly increase will be. If you go to www.mcrealestate.org, you can actually get down to exact numbers on your taxable value, and then you'll be able to do the math to figure out exactly what your annual cost will be and what your annual increase and your monthly increase will be. I appreciate everyone taking the time to listen to our video. If you have any questions, you can contact me via email at brandon.barnett@miamivalleyfiredistrict.org, or you can call my office at 937-560-2114, or you can visit us on our website at www.miamivalleyfiredistrict.org and click on levy information, and a lot of the questions that you may have hopefully will be answered by that. If you can't not find those answers, you can certainly contact me via email or by telephone. Thank you very much.